So I woke up this morning and I just knew I was going to record another video. And I was just like, what am I going to talk about today? And then I remembered, oh, yeah, last night when I went for a walk, I saw drones flying over our houses. And I had never seen this before. And these weren't like the normal drones that you see where people are getting content, and getting like the the landscape shots, right? Where they're like helicopter based. These were spherical drones, and they at first I almost thought they were party balloons, like a cluster of like balloons from an event or something, because I've seen that before. And they were just floating along, just over the houses, not going super fast, not going really slow, but definitely going slower. And it looked like there was like four of them in a pod, all pretty closely together. And I, I've never seen that before. But last week I had seen something up in the sky behind my house, up in the clouds, and it was just this light. It was just this light, and it wasn't. It was moving in a way where I knew that it couldn't be anything else. I knew it couldn't have been a bird. It wouldn't. Birds' feathers don't reflect that much light. It was so bright and it was so unusual. I'd never seen anything like that. And so then to see this last night, I was just thinking that like this is the beginning, right? Well, so I came home and I was like so excited to tell my wife about this. And she had gone for a walk just before me. So we had both gone for a walk, but we went in two different areas. And I was like, "Did you see the drones?" And she said, "Yeah. Yeah, I saw them. I saw she said she saw what looked like two drones." And, it wasn't that surprising for her. I was just looking at her and I was like, but wait, like, did they sound like drones? Because the ones that I didn't, yeah, the ones that I saw, they didn't. They seemed to just be floating and not flying. Like these were not like normal drones. And for her, it's like, well, this is the new normal. And I'm just thinking like, yes. Yes, like this is the new normal. Like I had said, my thought was, but this is the beginning. We're going to be seeing more of this. Wow, life is so crazy. This is not what I would have ever expected it to be like. We're just, this is like a normal thing. And I had more questions than her, and I think that this is very typical. My personality is very different. I want to know, I want to understand what is going on. And I'm putting all the pieces together and I'm trying to figure it out. So when I'm showing up here on video, know that I don't have this all figured out. I am figuring it out and I know that there is truth. And hopefully by talking to you, I'm planting new seeds for you to then go and figure out more truth for yourself. It's really important to have more and more perspective, to have true understanding and not to just take things at face value. And that's what I'm talking about in this video. But I see these drones and I have these other questions. Whose drones are these? Are these the government's? Are these from another race of species that are maybe checking in on their people here on the planet? Are they just kind of surveying things, checking out the frequency, trying to understand what's going on? My other questions were who could see them? Because I've heard that if it's a higher frequency, not everybody can see the craft. And I'm of the belief that I'm of a higher frequency. And so maybe I could see them, but my neighbors couldn't. And so yeah, it's really what an exciting time to be alive. And I'm so much more in favor of being excited for life versus the alternative, which is being afraid and, well, being manipulated. Not a big fan of that. It's one of my big passions. That's why I show up here. That's why I'm talking to you. So if these drones were not the government's, and I'll tell you right now, I'm in Mexico right now. I have a hard time believing, but not completely, that the Mexican government is using such sophisticated technology. I know that the US military does have access to that technology as acquired from these other races, but of course you would never tell the world what technology you have, so you can use it to your advantage. That's to be expected. So I wouldn't expect that this government down here would be doing this type of thing, because if it's seen by the people around here, it's a very simple minded culture in terms of technology down here. Okay. Very simple. I mean, we're talking like we've still got 3G network down here. I mean, we have 3, 4, and 5, a little bit of 5. There's 5G tower. But it's pretty basic technology. There's not a lot of electronics and stuff down here. Electronics are very expensive for most people down here. So, you don't see a lot of electric cars or anything like that. So to see something like that would be very surprising, I think, is from the government, which makes me tend to think that, yes, these are from, right? These are from the galaxy. These are other races they have their drones here and they're just checking things out. So in my previous video, I talked about this federation being the government of the galaxy, let's say. I'm not exactly sure the full jurisdiction, but I think it's pretty big. There are rules for contact. As a race, you can't just show up to Earth in physical form. You can't just be flying your technology blatantly all the time. You can't be invasive, right? The whole thing is to be discreet, to let us have our Earth experience. And I get that, right? That's why we're all here. We're here. We think it's very real. We're having this very vividly real experience. It's challenging. We're growing. And so that's our benefit, for like our soul. Okay. So they are coming here. They're flying their drones. These drones could also be, because they're so visible, they could be controlled by a couple of the very powerful 3-letter agencies with the intent of having a negative agenda. And that is the point of this video. So when I talk about these kinds of things, I want to stress that I am of the opinion this is not so much conspiracy. It's more so just contrary to what those in power want us to think. This this negative connotation of conspiracy theory has been pushed by those in power. Okay? It's not a negative thing. It's having a different perspective. It's questioning what's going on. That's healthy. I can't imagine why that would not be a healthy thing. I'm not saying doubting, I'm just saying questioning, being curious, being open-minded. These are positive things. So this false this false alien invasion. I've heard that this is coming from a couple other YouTubers. And we'll see. We'll see if it actually happens. Because they're already ahead of it, it would make it less of a surprise, right? It would, especially me doing this video, preceding such a thing would then make a reference point to people thinking that it's coming and talking about why they think it's coming. So we'll see. It might not actually happen. But hear me out, because when I talk about this stuff in this video, the concepts that I talk about, the concepts that I have learned from some of these other channels, it fits this mold of what we've seen in history leading up to this point, and thus it is the same format of what we can expect moving forward. Okay? So it's not that this particular thing is like so important, but it's the pattern. Okay. It's recognizing the pattern so you can then transcend it, rise above it. It doesn't have any power over you. That's the point. Okay. So there is talk about a staged attack on humans where the perception would be that it's coming from extraterrestrials. And what I'm saying is extraterrestrials are following rules laid out by this federation where they can't just, they don't want to. They're not interested in harming humans. But they can't just show up and just be taking away our experience and be us thinking that these guys are real, like we're supposed to be here on Earth, really like kind of trapped in this like immersive experience. So not only do they not really want to mess with our experience, but they're not technically allowed to because those are the rules as outlined by the Federation. Therefore, if we do see something, we can know that it's not extraterrestrials. However, the portrayal of what is happening, and it will be something dramatic, major devastation, to land, to property, human lives, right? And when it's something so dramatic like that, people will just get completely wrapped up in it. And what are they going to do? They're going to go to channel 4, they're going to go to channel 5, they're going to go to channel 13 or whatever, because that's where they're looking for their news. They're going to go to Facebook, they're going to go to YouTube, right? Whatever, all the trending, the big channels, right? The big networks, they're all going to have the same narrative. It's amazing how when things happen in the world, how all of a sudden, all these different networks can be so on the same page with what is going on. And that's what makes it seem so real. It's like it's substantiated because you have this wide variety. You have websites, you have news networks, you have YouTubers, you have influencers, you have reporters and journalists, and they're all saying the same thing. And so you think, wow, this is what's really going on. But that's just what they're all perceiving. That's just what they're all talking about. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what is actually going on. That's just what it seems like is happening. Again, it's not that we need to be so in doubt about reality, right? That's not the whole point of me being here. The point of me being here is not to induce fear. is to make you aware of the fear that has already been induced. Maybe not to you, but to society. And if you look around the world at all the big governments of the world, the people are wrapped up in all of the drama that's going on for them and in their worlds. So the benefit of having this attack, this ET attack, is, in theory, it would make us afraid of what's out there. It would make us afraid of anything that is foreign, anything that doesn't feel like it's human and human technology. And thus potentially make us trust our governments more. Because a lot of us don't really want to, because we don't have good reason to, because of the history, because of how things are playing out. As time goes on, the governments of the world are losing trust with their people because it's getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. And we're really starting to get a little bit pissed off about how little freedom we actually have, even though it's presented in a way where we have all of this freedom, but we don't actually. There's so many rules and regulations and censorship, which is very challenging to diagnose. But we started to see that really ramp up starting in 2020. Lots of censorship. So if there's an attack, a staged attack, a perceived attack on civilization of Earth, that would also then present the opportunity to create and enforce more rules, more regulation over the people, over how things are done, in order to protect us from another one of these things happening. The Tegetten team that I've started to refer to more, they describe this as creating a problem and then selling the solution to it. So, we've got some examples here. So, a little bit controversial, but let's take in global warming, which I remember as a kid. I remember the big kickoff for me, and what it seemed like was the big kickoff to it was Al Gore and his presentation of An Inconvenient Truth. And I remember my whole family watching that, and you're watching these images of, or these projections of sea levels rising. And we all have to just be so afraid that we're all just going to get flooded because there's going to be so much ice melting. Well, what we've seen with that now, like 20 years later, now we're dealing with, you look at the car market. So this is the answer to the problem that's been created. Oh, climate change the climate is really changing. So we need to make the cars more and more sophisticated. They have more and more technology. They are meeting what seem like very arbitrary emission standards and changes. And what the end result is vehicles are getting very, very expensive, especially in countries like the US, where there is so much, that regulation is so steep, where the entry-level car prices, vehicle prices, it goes up every single year. And it's because of these standards. So what we're ending up with is we're ending up with people being able to afford less and less of their own transportation as time goes on. Because guess what? So other prices have gone up, which makes no sense. The housing market. The housing market in the US just keeps going up and up and up and up, and it doesn't really make any sense. The more expensive things get for people, the harder of a time they have to get by in life. The harder they have to work, the less available free time and free money they have, the less they can travel. You're going to get a more and more suppressed population, a population that's really just feeling defeated. And it sounds really sad, but this is part of the pattern. Just take it in your mind, just set it off in the corner. Don't take it as truth necessarily. But you start to look around and things happening that don't have any logical sense. You start to see, okay, if this is true, then that does make sense. So going along with this climate alteration of the planet, we have all these alternative energy sources that have come out too, with all this new technology, but those are more expensive as well. So now you have transportation and you have your home utilities, and it's more expensive to run those because they have to use a newer technology, right? Who was creating that technology? Who benefited from the creation of all this technology? Who's the extremely powerful billionaire in the US who has dominated with a lot of this new technology? There is potential for a lot more going on here. So here's another one that I was personally invested in was, okay, so the climate is changing. We need to change our diets, right? We need to go vegan. We need to go plant-based. We got to eat more plants because the livestock, all of the farting cows, they're contributing so much methane, so much exhaust is coming from these animals that we got to go more with the plants. And that's what I have been doing. But after 14 years of being vegan, I called it quits because I was made aware of this exact pattern that I'm talking about in this video. And I realized that I was sold into, my empathy was played on to get me to go in this direction, which was actually not good for me. And it was gradually just lowering my frequency. And it sounds really demented that would be the goal, but well, I'm realizing that ethics aren't as much of a concern to all beings. If you are a soul in a human body, yeah, you have more of a conscience. But other races, it's not so much. Not so much. I'm not saying all of them, but there's a few, especially the ones that are highly successful with Earth. And there are some races that look just like humans that are here. And we'll talk more about this in future videos. But what you see isn't what you're thinking is actually the truth. right? I also I also had down here as part of this environment, planetary change with with the recycle stickers. The all of like the little yeah, it's like the symbols, the recycle symbols with the different numbers. And there being all these numbers beyond 1 and 2 that are just you they pretty much can't be recycled. There's very few places that they can be recycled. And then they started coming out on plastic bags, and you've got the recycle. So you don't feel bad buying these things because, it can be recycled. And I throw that in there because it's it's just kind of one more way. It's just this idea of like the greenwashing where it's like that becomes your mindset. And I was so wrapped up in that for so long, and then to realize that like our planet isn't actually doing anything different than what it has for, I mean, since the beginning. I I think that's just pretty amazing. I mean, I remember going into my Facebook, and I was searching for groups. I typed in climate change, and I was just searching in Facebook, and they didn't show me any groups. All they showed me was basically just this invitation to go to this page that they've created explaining to you what climate change is. And that's fine, but very suspicious because why would you go to all this effort to to show people this thing that should just be so obvious? But the problem is now there's a lot of groups popping up on Facebook where they're like it's all a hoax, and they're like no, we can't have people thinking this. So if people are going to search for this group, we're not going to show them to it. We're going to have a little bit of like a speed bump there, kind of like a refresher. Hey, this is a real thing. And look at all the science and all the experts. And it's like, what? It's like when you're watching on YouTube and you see the Wikipedia things underneath it, as if you don't have the ability to think for yourself. You have to, this corporation has to tell you what the truth is via Wikipedia, which is based off of, experts. It's all very curious. It's all very curious. Okay. So again, as a reminder, I'm not here to instill fear. I'm here to make you aware of what's happening that is already producing, that has already been planted to create this fear. Ask questions. Don't believe the hype. Don't take the headlines at face value. That used to be me reading the news a few years ago. Just reading the headlines. Oh, really? Oh, this is what's going on. Okay, cool. What? It's like I'm just accepting it in. Yes, okay, I believe you. Okay, I believe you. Okay, I believe you. And I just can't believe that I ever did that because there's so few sources at this point that I will actually trust. And it's not because I'm paranoid, it's because I'm seeing the pattern. It's because I have been the target of a lot of this, and I'm like waking up and realizing it. So I had talked about these drones flying over, over my house, and kind of just passing by, not just floating only over my house. But I had mentioned that, okay, so maybe these are from these are from some other galactic races. And maybe they're races that I have connection with. I've heard some of these other channels on YouTube talk about how you might be here as a starseed, and so you have ties with them. You're linked with them. You're having your Earth experience here, and they're checking in on you. This is something where even just a few years ago, I would have been like, "What are you talking about? Is this like the Matrix?" I'll have to do another video on this in the future where it's not so straightforward. You have souls that are incarnating. You have walk-ins. You have step downs. There's all kinds of stuff going on here. So when you and you have clones, and so when you're looking around at people, politicians, your neighbors, just people driving by, walking by, you can't just assume that they're a soul in a body like you. If you are watching this video, you are a soul in a body. Your close friends and family, they are souls and bodies. What I'm talking about is the people that you don't actually know. And this sounds really crazy, Matrix, science fiction. But if it were true, it would make a lot of sense, because there's a lot of people making decisions that affect all of us that are they just feel so wrong. They feel so unethical. That's what's disturbed me my whole life. Just looking around at these people, and I'm just feeling like very triggered by it. And it's like, yes, the goals on Earth by the powers that be are confusion, anger, distrust, and fatigue, just running you down, overwhelming you, trying to get the emotions up. I mean, we're already on a roller coaster. We already have all these emotions going on. But when you see all this stuff in the news, I mean, it just it just spikes them up. And emotion is one of those it's overlooked so much. We don't even realize when we're in these low states of emotion as humans. We don't even realize what kind of energy that's actually inviting in, and how easy it is to be influenced when you are in a highly emotional state, especially the lower emotions. I'm not talking about joy and love, not those, when people are like, they're angry and they're depressed and sad. And when you get people that are in states like that, it's so easy to hit them with a psychic attack, to influence them, to make them have thoughts that are not theirs. And so this is not talked enough about really anywhere. So I will be doing more videos on emotion in the astral plane. Okay. I want to bring it back. Bring it back to this invasion that's coming from the extraterrestrials, supposed, right? This is just it's a prediction. Don't know if it's actually going to happen or not. But if the goal is to make it so believable, and you have the loss of human life, right? Major destruction and devastation. If you could have something that's similar to the 9/11 attacks, where it was so significant and people were so angry that they were going to jump with both feet into whatever the government said the solution was going to be. Yeah, sure, it's these guys' fault and they're on the other side of the world, so let's make it happen. Let's get the war machine going, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of money was made. lots and lots and lots of money was made. And it's really sad to think if that if that was known by a couple of these three-letter agencies, they knew it was going to happen, and well, they let it. Then, I mean, seriously, they're protecting us, or are these guys actually run by secret societies? And why? Why would we think any of this? This just sounds so far-fetched, right? But I'm bringing you back to the pattern. If the pattern is population control, if the intent is to maintain power, the best way to do that is to keep us suppressed, to keep us confused, to keep us desperate for any solution, to want revenge, right? Then these guys have been succeeding for a very long time. So my takeaway from all of this, it's the pattern, it's, all these alternative thoughts, narratives, is for me, I want to come back to who I am. I want to have confidence in who I am. I want to have clarity on why am I actually here? What thoughts are mine? What emotions are mine? What are those being presented to me? What are those that are being experienced by my neighbors and just society and the rest of the world? Just because people believe something is happening wholeheartedly, it doesn't mean that it's true. Perception creates reality. Their perception is their reality. If you change your perception with everything that I'm talking about, you can have a different reality. If you want a different reality, it is possible for you. It is available for the taking. We always have a choice. We always have a choice. And just because other people are feeding into this doesn't mean you have to. You are under no obligation to do such a thing. You might feel left out, but if you step back and you see these guys going through all this chaos, are you really bummed out that you're left out? I mean, isn't that a positive thing? So I'm addressing you. You're watching this video, and I know that there's hope for you. If you are still watching this video, I know that there's still hope for you. I'm encouraging you to take a step back, to have a new perspective, to look objectively at what is going on in the world. I want to reassure you that you can have a really great life. You can be completely fulfilled. You can have these super high levels of abundance and love and joy and peace. You can have it all. But you have to create your own world. You have to create your own reality. You have to detach from all the craziness that's being created for the masses. You don't have to buy into it. And you can have everything that's happening in life work for you, right? And you don't have to have this mindset, this mentality of things are working against me. They're not happening to you. They're happening for you. You can find the positive in them. You can You can have anything happen to you, no matter what, and you can always find a positive way out of it. You have that power. Nobody could ever take that away from you. They can suppress it, but they can't ever completely take it away. They can get it down to like a little flicker, a little pilot light, but it's still there. You still will always have that potential. And I learned that. It's changed my life for the better. And now I want to help you have that as well. If you like this video, leave a comment, let me know. If you have different thoughts on anything that I've presented, I encourage you to share them. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. I don't have a complete, perfect understanding of what's going on here. But I know that I have my perspective and it feels very true. And so I want to open it up. I want to offer it so you can receive it. And if it doesn't fit into what you think is true, that's okay. None of this is being forced on you. Okay. It's all just in the name of expansion and what feels true. So anyways, appreciate you for watching this and look forward to the next one.